Hey guys, Kira Guy here, and welcome to another Thoughts on video, where I talk about my opinions regarding a movie that just came out, or a movie I just went out to see in the theater, or whatever movie I just watched, or whatever, and I just give my brief impressions, thoughts, just straight out of the gate. So, this video in particular, I've decided to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this is also the second installment to the previous film, Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously, just that. So, before going into my opinions regarding this film, I think I should talk about my personal thoughts about the previous installment. Now, before getting to that, I'd just like to say I am a huge MCU fan, I'm a huge Marvel fan. I mean, I got the cartoons and all these other things to prove it. Like, I'm a huge Marvel fanatic. I love this stuff. I love it. But anyway, the first Guardians of the Galaxy film was fantastic. It was a very, very fun movie. It was a different set of pace. It was interesting because a lot of people didn't know who the Guardians were at all. I only knew about the Guardians of the Galaxy because, well, I only knew about one of the members, and that was Rocket Raccoon, and mainly because he appeared in a fighting game called Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Very disappointing game, but parts of it were impressive. But anyway, yeah, so Rocket was an interesting character. I really liked what he was, and then I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, okay, now I need to see this movie. And I loved it. It was fun, it was funny, and it was surprisingly emotional in a few parts. Especially in the first few minutes, like, it just has you, like, has your heart sink, like, the first few moments you see it. I was like, holy shit. And we're gonna get into that, especially, uh, what happens later on. So, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This movie, I personally think, is great. And honestly, I think it's even better than the first movie. Because it does all the things, it does everything that a great sequel should. It takes everything that worked in the original and does that, but it takes the chances to evolve what the original movie did. Like, for instance, like, some of the criticisms of the first movie, like, the villain wasn't so good. I mean, Ronan, he's alright, I guess. His performance was fun to watch, but his motivation was kind of weak, and he just wasn't really that relatable of a villain. And I know the MCU gets a lot of criticism for, like, shitty villains, which I think is complete bullshit, but whatever. Uh, I do understand where that comes from, but I don't agree with it. With that said, though, yeah, Ronan was not the best. Aside from that, I think the villain that they address here, I'll get into him eventually. I don't want to say who it is because that will spoil it. So anyway, yeah, this movie, to give a brief synopsis, basically the Guardians are, once again, fighting evil in the universe and stuff like that, and once they finish up one of their jobs, their ship gets destroyed because Rocket decides to steal stuff from a planet of, like, these gold people who are, like, very, fussy and very up their own ass and all that stuff. Because they're just literally the way they talk is, like, they're so, oh, how unorthodox these people are. Like, they're just so uppity and all that stuff. It cracks me up. And, so anyway, yeah. Rocket pisses them off, and they attack their ship. They crash on a deserted planet. And, well, because initially they did it because they wanted to get Nebula, Gamora's sister, and turn her into Nova Prime so she could be arrested and be behind bars for what she did in the previous movie, because she was on the run, and she was a convict, basically. And she was acquainted with Thanos. Or Ronan, actually. So after that happens, they run into this guy named Ego, who claims to be the father, and if you've seen the trailers, yeah, played by Kurt Russell. He's the father of Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, and they catch up with each other. They talk things out, and then they go onto a spaceship, and then they fly all the way to his planet. Meanwhile, we have this side plot going on with Rocket Raccoon and Nebula, as well as the also adorable Baby Groot. And yeah, yeah, they're basically just they got these Ravagers. If you know Yondu's also a major character in this movie, and he does a lot of things. Like we learned that he's been exiled from like a lot of the Ravager team or whatever because he took a kid, Star-Lord, away from his parents or something like that, and that's just against code. And it just and the guy who's in charge of the Ravagers is Sylvester Stallone, which is like I get why he's in the movie, but I don't see the point of like putting his credit in like the top few things on the internet. And thank God like they didn't blow it up as much as they did, because he didn't appear that much in the movie though. He did appear for a little bit, and I thought that Sylvester like he did a really good job with his character for how little he appeared though. I thought he did great. And I know there's going to be a third movie, so hopefully he'll come back. Maybe we'll see him in Infinity War. Infinity War. But anyway, yeah, so Yondu is at a bar or whatever. The Gold people hire him and the Ravagers to go after the Guardians because they stole the batteries and stuff. And after that, so yeah, we have that whole side plot where where one of the Ravagers turn on Yondu because they think he's a weak captain, he's lost his edge, and everything just goes haywire. It just causes this whole mutiny thing to go down, and then they have that whole side plot going on. So, pretty much, one half of the Guardians team is off on another planet with Ego, aka Star-Lord's dad, and another half of the story is Rocket, Groot, Nebula, and Yondu trying to fight their way through a mutiny and get out of that situation. So, without that, I can't really say much other than that without spoiling anything, but I'll try to, and that's pretty much a brief synopsis I can give about it without spoiling anything. So anyway, I'll go into a few things that are not spoilery and talk about what I liked. So first off, the opening credits, just like the first movie, it's enjoyably hilarious, and I loved how they took it a step up. It's basically just, they're fighting off this giant monster. It's much like the first. Well, actually, before that, it's a brief flashback. We see Star-Lord's dad and his mom meeting with each other. Yeah, Ego and Mrs. Quill. I forget her first name. I'm sorry. And they're just enjoying time in the 80s. You could tell it's the 80s just because I'm like, if this were Stranger Things, this is what they would look like. You just see a Dairy Queen or whatever, and yeah, I was like, yep, this is definitely the 80s, the way it looks and all this music and stuff. And once again, guys at Marvel, you guys did a fantastic job de-aging this character. Like, holy shit, this is just as good as what they did for Michael Douglas when he played Hank Pym in Ant-Man. And like they made him look young again, and it looks great. It doesn't look cheap in any way. It doesn't look scary like it did in Tron, where it was just literally a CG model. No, I don't know what they did, and I don't know who was behind it. I'll have to do my research on it. But holy shit, they did a great job making Kurt young again. Anyway, so that happens, and they're just meeting together. They have this little thing. They have this romance or whatever, and fast forward a few years later, 30 years later, I believe, and then we just have the Guardians fighting this giant monster, and they start playing this song. I knew this song was going to be in the movie somewhere or another because I saw somebody post, like, the Awesome Mix Volume 2, I think, somewhere on YouTube or whatever, and it was Mr. Blue Sky by Electric Blue. I don't know the rest of the band name. Mr. Blue Sky. And it was the perfect song to open with. It was just Baby Groot just dancing to the tune, and you just see all the Guardians fighting the monster back and forth. Yeah, they even have like this movie even has a lot of callbacks, which I'll get into. Like in the opening, like we have a callback to the end of the first movie, where like Baby Groot is growing, and then you see him dancing around, and then he stops when Drax looks at him. He's like, and then every time he turns around, he goes. It's so adorable. It's great. But anyway, yeah, that happens. They defeat the monster, and yeah, we already know what happens there. Anyway, another good thing about this movie is that the humor, yeah, like I said before, the humor is just on point. All the jokes just, like, hit bullseyes. And there was rarely a time where I wasn't smiling, and I really loved watching this all the way through. It was so much fun. Especially, like, all the stuff with Yondu during the beginning. Like, again, I can't get into much without spoiling anything, but holy shit, this was really good. There's even a point where they reference Mary Poppins later on. It's like, I can't explain what it is, because that'll give away the climax, but Yondu's, like, floating off with his spike thing or whatever, and Star-Lord comments, "Oh man, you look like Mary Poppins with that thing." It's like, "Oh, is he like a badass or whatever?" He's like, "Yeah," and then he goes, "I'm Mary Poppins, y'all!" And it's so funny. Like the whole crowd was just lost it. It was great. And my dad, there are a lot of points. The humor was so. It really speaks a lot because you know your movie is funny when you make my dad laugh. Because I saw this movie with my mom, with my dad and my sister, and my dad is one of the like when he laughs, like if you get him to laugh hard, that is a feat. Because there aren't that many. Because like I've seen him watch funny movies, but usually he'll be entertained by a movie, but I've rarely seen him laugh. And whenever he does, it's always like a big one, like a like it's always a big one. Like but he's usually stoic or whatever, much like how I am usually most of the day. But holy crap, this one made him laugh a lot, and I really, yeah. Good job, James Gunn. I'm losing words because you did a great job here. But anyway, yeah, that was something. Again, and just another thing to point out, this movie is fucking beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful movies I've seen from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Almost close to Doctor Strange in its level. Well, actually, yeah, I'd say it slightly exceeds it above Doctor Strange. Actually, it's a little between the two, because the visuals in that movie were incredible too, but then I see this one, I'm like, oh my god, you can watch this in 3D too, and it just looks amazing. It looks so good. Like, you see all the stars in space, and then you enter this beautiful planet landscape. It looks like something out of, like, Toonami or whatever. And it's like, it just looks so beautiful. And another thing, the action scenes, once again, much like Marvel Cinematic, the MCU knows how to do some kick-ass battle scenes. They know how to give us some amazing fights with our favorite characters. And there is one sequence in this movie that I love the most, which doesn't really give anything away. It's one of my favorite sequences, without giving anything away. It's when Yondu and Rocket are fighting off the mutiny. Like they're placed in a prison cell, and they got to get out. And Yondu like gets like new equipment or whatever, so he can control his little spike thing where he has to whistle and it flies around everywhere. Like his arrow needle where it just flies around everywhere, and he just controls it by whistling, which I wish I could do. It took me years to learn how to snap. I still don't know how to whistle. Anyway, beside the point. It's this whole long sequence where you hear this like old song or whatever. I forgot the name of it, what the song was. It felt so well, and it's just a slow walk. It starts out as this slow walk. They're just walking through the ship, and then as guards start to appear, like an alarm goes off or whatever, and then guards start to come around, and then he just starts whistling, and you see the needle go through multiple guards, boom, boom, like, just like that. And it just keeps going and going. Then they reach, like, the escape pod or whatever, and just before they launch, they look at the monitor to see where the guys are. He sends the needle going their way, and then Rocket is using his gun, and just shooting people left and right. Groot's helping him on the way. Baby Groot, like, even throws a guy down, because they were so mean to him when they took mutiny. Like, they put him in a cage, they dressed him in a little outfit, but then they poured alcohol on him, and they were like, oh, you douchebags. And then he just like in the trailer, he grabs a guy and throws him off the edge. It was really funny. And towards the end of that moment, yeah, it's just this one guy named Taserface. Yeah, I won't dare give away the jokes that Rocket spuns on this one, because like as soon as Rocket hears his name Taserface, he just roasts him completely. I will not dare spoil what he said there, even in the spoiler section once I get into that. But anyway, yeah. So once he throws the needle there, he lights it on fire, misses, but then he lits the whole thing up and it explodes, and it's just one of the most amazing scenes ever. It just looks great. So yeah, that's something. That's one of my favorite scenes without giving anything away. That and the opening sequence as well. So, and another thing I also liked is the relationship between a lot of the characters was very unique. Everyone had their own chemistry, and it never came off as forced. Everyone talks like people, and that's what I like about James Gunn's writing. Like, he has a very, very human sense of humor. What the fuck does that mean? He has a very, very unique and very relatable sense of humor, but he also has, whenever he needs to slow things down, he knows how to take something seriously, and he knows how to get to the point. Granted, this movie did have a few moments where it did drag a little too long, but once it got to the climax, I was like, okay, I have no problems. And so anyway, yeah. My personal thoughts about this movie without giving anything away, it was fun, it was awesome, I had a great time. I thought this movie was way better than the first one. Definitely go check it out if you like the first movie. Especially if you're an MCU fan, this needs to be in your collection once it comes out on Blu-ray and DVD. Buy the ticket, full price, whatever you have to do, go get it, go watch it, go see it. You're gonna love it. Anyway, let's move on to spoilers, because I got a lot to say. Whew, okay, so let's talk about Ego. Alright, so when it comes to Ego and Peter Quill, like, when you first meet him, Ego is like this guy who comes off as like he genuinely wants to like understand this guy, his son, for all the years he's been absent, and of course Peter's trying to understand, like, why the hell did you leave my mother behind? Why did you let her die on her own? And of course he just starts explaining stuff like, you don't understand. Like, if I wasn't there like the entire time, if I was there the entire time, then like this physical body of mine would just disappear, and I wouldn't be able to be there any longer, and it just wouldn't work. So, yeah, that's his explanation for that, and it just goes on into this whole friction thing. But then eventually, through some heartwarming conversations, they start to win each other. He starts to win him over, and even down to the line, because Ego's like this living planet, and he creates this physical embodiment of himself, which is the Kurt Russell embodiment, and he pretty much tries to teach Peter how to control life, like how to create life and stuff, or even physical matter. And it's this very, very interesting scene. You just see they make a ball or whatever of energy, and they just play around with it, and they just play around with it like they're playing catch, and it's just so silly and cheesy, but you know what? I have no problems with it. That's totally okay. It's silly enough that you could just go, that's adorable. And but later on down to the movie, we also have another thing that picked up from the previous film. We have the character Gamora starting to develop a relationship with Peter in some way or another, which picked up from the previous movie, which they almost did, but they decided not to do that in the first movie, because a lot of action movies have that thing. It's like, oh, they gotta be a couple by the end. You don't always have to do that, guys. And they instead saved it for this movie, which at first I was thinking, is there really a purpose for that? Why don't we just keep them as friends? And at first I was objecting towards it, but I was like, You know what? No, this isn't too bad. This is fine. This is totally fine. And for how they were playing out, it wasn't forced. It wasn't cringy. It wasn't anything like that. It was totally fine. Totally fine. I thought they did a great job. Like, their conversations were entertaining, especially when they kept referencing music. That whole dance sequence they had was adorable. I loved it. And I just love these two characters. It's great. She even has her own moments with her sister Nebula, who, of course, escapes from the clutches of like the two handcuffs or whatever, and tries to go after her because these two have a bitter. She has a bitter hatred for her sister because, like, Thanos would always test their strength to make them the best they can be, and have like little competitions or whatever. And every time she would lose, she'd always get mechanics put inside her, and it changed her so much over time that she's grown a deep hatred for both Thanos and or Thanos, whatever the fuck, and Gamora, and it just sort of got more heated from there. And I was like, holy shit. So you could totally see, like, I can kind of relate to her, but at the same time, fuck, that's really hard. But anyway, yeah, they go down and they have some sisterly moments. Won't give those away, but it gets real, man. You gotta see it just to believe it. I won't do it justice by just explaining it here. Plus, I just came out of the theater. I have to do an in-depth review in order to properly explain it. Anyway, so back to Ego. Ego and Quill, they have this interesting father-son relationship or whatever, and sometime down the line, they want to get along with they want to. Oh wait, no! I just remembered something. Mantis. Mantis was another character I wanted to talk about. Mantis is like this new character they introduce, who is like this empath or whatever. Empathy, telepath version of a empathy person or whatever. She can sense people's emotions, and she and Drax have a very interesting dynamic with each other. Like, they're trying to. It's not. They're sort of not really, but kinda having a chemistry. Not sure if it's romantic or not. I don't think they know either, but they're very socially awkward. They don't understand how to talk to people normally, and it's really funny just to see them play off each other. And oh, and later down the line, just oh my god, I love these characters. But anyway, yeah, back to Ego and Peter Quill before he got sidetracked. So anyway, we learn later down the line that Ego is actually assimilating other planets by implanting these little sprite things on different worlds, because he goes around and seduces women and brings children to his planet and then kills them. As we see like a cavern of skeletons and all these bones everywhere, and then Quill's just like because Ego is offering Star-Lord like the opportunity to create stuff with him and all that stuff. Like, we have all these cosmos and all these other things, like these great possibilities, and Peter is just like, my friends. What? And then he's just like, whatever, no big deal with thing like that. And then they're just mortals. They don't understand what we are. And then she's just like, my friends are mortals. What about them? Well, my mother was immortal, and you loved her so much. And then, of course, she goes into detail. It was like, yeah, Quill's going like, yeah, you loved my mother, didn't you? Right? And then, of course. And this is the moment that actually shocked me the most. Like, I knew that in one direction, okay, Ego's probably going to be the bad guy. But with all this said and done, I'm pretty sure he didn't do anything. I'm pretty sure he's just doing this because he deeply cares for his son and wants to protect him in some way or another and doesn't understand what he's doing. Maybe he's not that much of a scumbag. What he's doing is shitty. But he can't be that much of a dickbag. And then he drops this. Ah, yes, your mother was such a beautiful thing. It was a shame I had to put that tumor in her. And I was like, oh, shit! Like, everything stopped. Everyone, like, there was just like a whole holy shit moment, and I was just like, kill him, shoot him, whatever you have to do. And immediately he pulls out his fucking guns and shoots him all apart. Holy hell. And I was like, yeah, you fucking deserve that. And then it just goes into climax straight in there, and then it's just all out from that on. And holy shit. I had never seen... Oh my god. I mean, I wanted to give this guy the benefit of the doubt because Iko was genuinely likable. I wanted to like this character. I didn't want to hate him by the end. I was like, oh, wait, maybe he's a villain by the end, but I didn't want to hate him. But god damn it, you made me hate him because he did something terrible to his mom. Because that shit was heartbreaking. He saw her die. Oh god. But anyway, yeah, that happens. So it becomes this all-in-out battle between Star-Lord and his dad, Ego. And then the Guardians get involved when the Gold People will eventually fly back again. When Yondu shows up, along with Rocket and Groot and Nebula. Well, actually, no, yep, Nebula's already on the planet. But along with Rocket, Yondu, and Groot. And they just fly off. They plant this bomb right over there. Attempting to plant the bomb along with Groot, who's trying to explain the process in the trailer, like, say, don't press this button or it'll kill everybody. And then, of course, Groot's like, I am Groot. And no, don't do that. And they do it 3 times over and over. It just becomes this whole routine. And then, while they're explaining, like, can I find some tape to put it over the death button? And then he runs away. Rocket's like, oh, I'm gonna die. Oh yeah, and another thing I should point out is that Yondu and Rocket have, like, this really interesting moment, like, before the movie's climax comes up, and it's very sweet and very relatable too, because Rocket is pretty much, I'll say this right now, Rocket's my favorite character, but he's an asshole, and everyone else has no problem pointing that out, and he's pretty much been, like, pissing people off left and right, and he and Yondu, they just really, like, get along with each other very well, and then Yondu just has this moment where he's just like, I know what you've been going through. Like, you were spliced up and all this stuff. I was left behind as a baby or whatever because my parents didn't give a crap about me. And, like, you're just like me, son. I know exactly what you're going through. And then they just have this moment where they're just, like, bonding with each other. And it's just, like, this great brotherly moment. It is awesome. So anyway, yeah, that happens. Later on, in the climax, all this stuff happens. They fight the planet. Peter... Of course, all the Guardians try to get away. It's this really tragic moment because they're just like, we gotta get Quill back. And there's just like, there's no time. They blast off into the sky or whatever. And then, after that happens, Yondu stays behind because he has like a spacesuit or whatever and a gun or something like that. And he goes out of... and then we cut back to Quill. The bomb is set, time's ticking. Quill's beating the crap out of Ego, and then 30 seconds before the bomb goes off, and then, shit, I forgot what Ego says at the end. Oh my god, he's like, here's what he said: if I die, you'll just be mortal. And then Quill's like a badass says, and what's wrong with that? And then boom, explodes. He disintegrates. That's the end of Ego, and then Quill is just Star-Lord is just standing over there. He doesn't know what to do. Yondu comes to the rescue, saves him, and then they fly up to the atmosphere. Yondu puts a spacesuit on Star-Lord. He pushes him out into space, tries to save him. He grabs onto his face to embrace him or whatever, and because he's just saying that he may have been your dad, that may have been your father, but he ain't your daddy. And then they come out of the atmosphere. Star-Lord has the suit on. And, because, like, you gotta understand, he lost his mask when they were fighting earlier. Because they had to give him a new one, a new spacesuit, temporary spacesuit. And, so anyway, yeah, that happens. And then he's floating off into space. And then it's just this really sad moment where it's just quiet. And they're just like, no, don't go away. And then Yondu dies. And I was like, holy shit. I didn't know they were going to do that, because I thought, because I saw like a press photo with him along with some other actors for a future MCU movie, and I was like, maybe they'll kill him. I guess Kevin Feige teased us with that, and they said, oh, gotcha. But all I know, maybe he could come back in Infinity War because, you know, Infinity Gems can do that sort of thing. And yeah, they had this very heartbreaking funeral scene, and the Ravagers show up for an epic funeral with fireworks and shit, and it's just, wow. Like, a lot of superhero movies know how to end on a downer. It was, for earlier this year, it was Logan. Now we got Guardians 2 depressing the shit out of me. Oh my god, I won't be surprised if Spider-Man Homecoming has a moment like that where maybe they'll adapt the same moment in a comic where like Spider-Man like swings by with a kid who has cancer who's Spider-Man's biggest fan. I will be flattered if they actually go that far and actually do that. But anyway, off topic. Yeah, so yeah, this was a really, really good movie. I really enjoyed this. The emotional moments really hit hard. The humor was all great. I forgot to mention one joke. I'll mention again. Like there's this one joke with Drax like wearing like a temporary spacesuit or whatever, and he doesn't like to. He's like, I don't like wearing this, and Rocket says it's because it hurts his nipples. And then later on, it comes back as a callback, and then he puts it on. And he's like, oh my nipples, and everyone lost it. No one could keep their shit together. Like they just started laughing their asses off. But anyway, yeah, just wanted to share that. I don't want to call the jokes because I don't want to spoil everything that happens in the movie. Though I will say a few other things that were pretty kick-ass towards the end of it, like once it was almost over. Like there's one part where Yondu and Rocket Raccoon and Groot are flying in like hyper speed through different jump points or whatever, like this little glass thing, whatever it is to get time space. They go through different dimensions, different worlds. For a brief second, I think you could see like stone rock people that kind of look like the people from Planet Hulk or whatever. So maybe we'll see them in Ragnarok. I don't know. And after that, we see the Watcher, which really caught me off guard. And along with Stan Lee, of course, Stan Lee. But then I was like, holy shit, the Watcher! We haven't had a good Fantastic Four yet, let alone made by the MCU yet. Probably not for a while. But holy shit, the Watcher! The Watcher might be in a later movie. Because for those of you guys who don't know, the Watcher is a Marvel character who watches over... get it? Watches over a lot of people within the Marvel Universe. He's like this all-knowing creature or whatever. A spectator just sort of lets people know, whatever. He's got this guy with a big head, big cape or whatever. Dude, like, he's this badass guy who's just all-knowing and stuff. I really like him. And I was like, oh my god, holy shit. So, yeah, that was cool. I did not expect the Watcher to make a cameo. Oh yeah, speaking of cameos, yeah, another character comes back, but I won't spoil that. But anyway, yeah. Oh god, I'm gushing too much. Anyway, first impressions, all opinions on this movie. I thought this was better than the first movie. I really had a great time with it, and if you're an MCU fan, please give it a watch. You are missing out if you have not seen it yet. Holy shit, this was a great movie, and I hope you guys check it out. So anyway, that's just me. I'll probably make another vlog sometime in the future when Spider-Man comes out, or maybe I'll do one on Pirates of the Caribbean, or maybe like some movie that comes out in June, like Wonder Woman, or maybe something else like that. I don't know. We'll see what happens later down the line. Till then, I'll see you guys in the next vlog. Catch you later, guys.